Hello, Raz.
1, 2, 3, Michael. How are you?
I'm just checking the mic. I'm good.
Me
We're
too.
back.
I'm checking. Yeah.
It's fun to be back.
Yeah.
This will be interesting today.
It's very interesting. And I'm actually excited because we have right away something in common. Both of us are PayPal alumni.
Yes.
Which is kind of a reunion for a few different generations.
Yeah, nice. We are PayPal alumni and we were
Yahoo alumni. So
see, we have a triangle.
It's a close world.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah.
What do you guys say? We say we bleed purple. What do PayPal people say?
We bleed money.
You bleed money. Okay, that works better for me.
In many different ways.
And one is doing better than the other. So yeah. Well, without further ado, Sau Sheong, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to do this ever since I knew you were at GovTech, and I started doing this, so I'm glad it's worked out. I think it goes without saying that people know you around Singapore, but funny enough, we're getting kind of a global audience for this. So you're the CTO of GovTech, which we'll talk about what GovTech is, because some people won't know because they don't have a similar thing, I think, in some countries.
Yep.
You were at Yahoo, that's where we were together. You were at Garena, which people know now as SEA.
Yes.
The gaming.
Yeah.
So that goes back away. You've worked at Singtel, HP. Anybody that pays their power bill in Singapore will probably know SP Power.
Me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Everyone.
The app is much better now. Thank you for fixing it.
Great app.
You're welcome.
I like it.
Yeah.
The U app, you had something to do with that a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. I use that daily. I'm so glad I don't have that card thing anymore to deal with. You're on some boards. You were a writer, both in what I think is text and code, which we're going to talk about that.
Right.
Because that's special, I believe.
Yes.
So this will be fun. Let's jump in. We'll start with you're a writer. Two published books in Go, or is there even more? I may have.
I have 5 published
Let's
books.
see. I'm
5
bad.
published books.
Wow.
2 of them are in Go.
That's right. I was sorry.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But 3 of them are in Ruby.
Yeah.
So there was earlier language I loved.
Yeah.
I still love, but I do a lot less now. I do mostly Go.
Go. Yeah. So the question for you is, when did you start writing code, and what was the first language?
When did I start writing code? It's probably in university. I was from NTU, Nanyang Technological University, and 30 over years ago. So first language was C. And there was a lot of panic when I first encountered C because I have no idea. I didn't come from a tech background, so I struggled through the university.
Were you studying programming?
I was doing computer engineering.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and writing software. I think that was a first for me in the university, and I suppose I didn't do too well initially because it was first time I encountered it. When I graduated, I started using Java, or rather, I encountered Java, and it was really amazing for me because it could do a lot of things that I wanted to do with a programming language that I find it hard to do in C, and I find it really mind-boggling to do in C++.
What year was it? Just to give us a timeline.
95.
Nice.
Yeah. Like last millennia.
It's like peak Java.
That was the start of Java,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And I spent the next 12 years doing Java, all sorts of Java. So I was like a super Java geek, and people started calling me Mr. Java at one point in time. I was part of the Singapore Java users group. I started a startup in Java. We built all kinds of things from the server side out to the Java cards, if people still remember that. The Java 2 mobile edition, the little app that runs the midlets that run on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I did servlets, I did applets briefly before that thing sort of went away. Did Java Swing, desktop applications, and a lot of different things on Java. So 12 years in Java. But I didn't write a single book on Java because I think that market was saturated. And then I picked up Ruby, and people actually approached me to write a book in Ruby. And that was the first out of 3 books. And then subsequently, I took a short break, and somebody came to me to say, hey, at that point in time, I picked up Go. And then afterwards, somebody asked me, hey, do you want to write a book on Go? Then I did. And then a few years ago, somebody approached me again to write another book. And I think that was the last book I wrote.
Nice.
For the ones in the audience that are not software developers, how do you write a book on code when you're writing a code?
So it's simple. It's actually 2-in-1, and that's what made it easy for me, right? Because I always start off with writing the code, and then I develop the idea about the chapter around it, and both of these come together. I would say it's easier for me. It's probably a lot tougher for some other people that I speak to. They tell me, because they have to write two things, right? Because it's both a book and also a lot of code. So I do both of them together, and it sort of clicked for me. Yeah, the idea of writing code and a book together, a chapter, that really is a little bit like storytelling. You are literally telling a story about the code. And that is the thing that I thought was very fascinating about writing these kind of books.
So it's code first and then language around it.
Yeah. Of course, my last book was a little bit different because it was a cookbook, right? It was a Go cookbook. And the idea then is like, how do you do this thing in Go? So again, I write the code first, and then I write stuff about the code around it. But it's all very short, like 1-2 pages per recipe. So that's, again, miniature version of a larger book that we'll write.
But it doesn't start with Once Upon a Time, I guess.
It could have. Yeah, my one of my Ruby books was called I can't remember, Exploring Everyday Things with R and Ruby, and it was literally that. It was about, so I would come up with a scenario, once upon a time, like what happens if, and I would write a Ruby program to simulate that, right, and then I use R to process the data out of the simulation,
coming out of it,
and come out of the and explain the effects of it. So one example, and it actually started off with that because I was looking at, say, at the time I was working in HP, and I was running HP Labs. So we moved into this new office, and this office had just a single restroom, and I think they had like 3 stalls or something like that. And we were projecting to have up to 75 people in the office, right? And it's like, is that really enough? How do we know we have enough restrooms for everyone? And half of mine is like, should we complain to the management, say there are not enough restrooms, and things like that? And say, okay, we're all engineers, right?
Write a simulation.
There's a lot of write a simulation. So we wrote a simulation to try to simulate, given 75 people, how often people need to go to the restroom, and do they use the stalls, do they use the urinals, and then have all those set up, and then we simulate it, and then after that I charted it out and say, actually it works out. so we didn't complain after all, but
and did it work out?
It did work out.
Yeah,
it did work out.
Yeah,
and so that was the start of it, right? And I thought, if I could come up with one scenario like this, maybe I should try looking out for different scenarios. And so sort of invented new scenarios and looked around and figured out what else I could simulate, and then use the data to generate insights into that particular scenario. Yeah, and then after the code, then I will write everything around it. That's what it is.
Yeah, and you enjoy it.
It was a really fun book to write, and it took me only 10 months to write that book.
Wow.
From the time I started writing to the time the book was sent to the editor. Of course, it took a few more months for it to get published. So that was the fastest I ever written a book.
Can you find it on Amazon?
Sorry?
Amazon?
You can.
Yeah, okay.
It is one of the 2 O'Reilly books I've written. It has the picture of an otter in front of it. No, a seal, a baby seal. Yeah.
Yeah, Go cookbook. Yeah.
You should put on the show notes afterwards.
Yeah, I'll put them all on. Yeah. So a lot of times in this episodes that we do, we're asking people maybe how they got to Singapore and things like that. But you're from here, right?
No, actually.
You're not.
I'm not.
You're from?
I was from Malaysia.
Okay, sorry. But you've been in Singapore
30 over years.
Yeah. Did you're kind of known on the world stage for things because you go and speak at conferences, even before the government stuff. during this kind of fairly epic career, did you ever think of leaving Singapore and going somewhere off into the tech world and having a bigger stage for what you do? Because
I suppose everyone in tech have always thought about, going to Silicon Valley because that's the mecca for all the tech people, right? But I had a family very early on. So I got married when I was 25, and my son was born when I was 27. So so I didn't really have. I brought my family here, and we started here, and it was not possible for me to go anywhere else. So I stayed on. But I found different interesting things to do here as well. So I thought maybe there's not much that I missed out after all.
Yeah, and along the path you've done a lot of different roles. Is it that chance to do these different roles for different people was the anchor to staying because you had such variety?
Yeah, I think partly as well, but actually a lot of this variety is something that both something that I sought out myself, but also others come to me presenting different opportunities. So in a sense, my career is not entirely by design. It's a big part of it is by luck as well. Right? So I stumble upon certain opportunities, and some of it I sought it out and I discovered them. But I think luck probably has a lot to do with it, either one way or the other.
Yeah. I think you have to be in the right place for luck to happen too.
Yeah,
With the right people, I guess.
Right place, right people, and one of those things that I don't shy away from is really going around and talking to people, and going up to speak at events, right, and sort of have a bit of outreach, so that people do recognize who I am and what I can do, and that sort of presented more opportunities for me after a while. Right?
Yeah, opens more doors.
Opens more doors in general.
Yeah.
Speak about the different roles and different companies, and you start with leading engineers. Then I'm taking just for example the SP Group when you've been the CEO over there, leading business people.
Yes.
And share with us what is the difference between leading a technical to business, and maybe what business people can learn from technical people.
Sure. So I've been running engineering teams like most of my career, right? That's not blip of a period of time when I was doing Singapore Power. Running a business unit in Singapore Power was relatively short in the larger scheme of things, right? I was doing it for 4 years. I spent 6+ years there, but the first 2 years was almost leading a engineering team again, right? It was only when my boss left, the CIO left, I was given the opportunity to start up a new business unit and drive the business from there. So I think at that point in time, it was a bit of a flip of a coin for me, because I could either do two things. I could either continue and take over my boss, which was the CIO, or I could be the CEO of a business unit, which is something I've never done before, right? So again, leap of faith, and I jumped in. I attribute that to my previous group CEO from Singapore Power at that point in time. He was telling me, you can be a CIO anywhere, right? That's CIO anywhere, but I'm giving you the chance to be the CEO, right? So I guess that's what sort of triggered me to take on that role, and I think it was a really good learning experience, because it was again something I never experienced. My biggest fear was, as exactly you say, right? I've never led business people before. How do I know whether I can do it or not? So that was an unanswered question. But one thing that, again, my ex-group CEO told me was like, you don't need to be good in everything. You just need to be good in what you're good in. And then you can always hire other people to be good in those things or not. Right? I think it was very wise words that he shared with me. And so when I took on that role, I quickly gathered people who I thought are good in business, or at least better than I am. And I brought them in, and I put them to work, and I just continued doing the things that I'm really good at, which was really providing the vision for the products and also building the products to deliver to the market, right? So it was my responsibility to build the products, to even sometimes be the figurehead and go out and speak, do some customer visits and so on. But the actual part of selling the products, right, the sales part of it is done by others who are much better at it than I was. So that was the strategy I employed. I think we did pretty well in the few years that I was leading SB Digital. I think that was quite a success. A little bit marred by COVID when it came because we lost business at that point in time. But I thought that overall we did pretty well in that particular business. Managing business people are quite different. Right? I think engineers are engineers. There's always very opinionated engineers, and you have to convince people and motivate them by being correct and by being better than them at doing the things that they do. But business and salespeople are a little bit different, right? So the incentives are always monetary. So I had to actually initially started to design like a compensation system, a commission system to encourage them to sell more. Realized that I'm really bad at designing compensation systems, so we actually engaged professionals to do that for us. So we designed this sales compensation system, and we actually tried different variations as well. How successful it is, I would say it was pretty okay. It's pretty okay. It got us to selling better, and we rolled out a number of products out into the market. Did pretty well in sales, and I think at least when I left, we were EBITDA break-even at that point in time. Yeah.
Quite a milestone.
Yeah, one of the reason I'm asking, I had a few debates, let's say my career, with head of engineering or VP engineering, debating about KPIs. He said, for you running the business, it's easy to provide KPIs, but how can I provide KPIs to my engineers? Did you have this type of debate with your internal self? Because now you're handling both. You see the KPIs for business, you're going back to engineering, have debating about ideas.
Yeah, not really. Okay. Not really, because at the end of the day, it is a single organization and there's only one KPI, right? Even the organizations I was with previously, especially the startups, the KPI is very simple. The KPI, especially for startup, is don't die, right?
I agree.
I'm sure it's like don't die. Whether you're an engineer, you're
and put on the screens, on the monitors, don't die.
Yeah, it's like you need to sell products that people want to buy. Right? So as an engineer, that's really the job. You need to build stuff that people want to buy. You need to test it out. The product guys need to come up with good products. You need to test the market. The engineers need to build the products that are good, that people want to buy, has less issues rolling out. And operations are very important, right? Because and again, being in the SB Digital, where our products were not just purely software, we rolled out products that are physical products as well, right? So
yeah, the charging network,
the charging networks, the IoT devices that we rolled out that were monitoring the solar panels and so on. Those need to be maintained by physical humans because those things break down, right?
Yeah.
If you're a software guy, you're running on the cloud, things don't really break down. Yeah. And even if it breaks down, it's not your problem, right? The cloud guy is going to fix it for you. But your device, IoT device that connects to the solar panel, if it breaks down, it is your responsibility to go and figure it out. So there are a lot of ways to do it, and we have to figure out some of these ways because the people that I had at that point in time, the engineers, they're not software guys. They've never dealt with IoT stuff. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for a lot of them. And for me as well, because I was also not an IoT guy. Yeah. So there were a lot of learnings. I think it was a very fun time. But back to your question on KPIs, I don't think it was ever like we have two set of KPIs. It's always the same ones. The first one is always like we need to meet our bottom line, and we had projections, right? Within 3 years, we need to meet a certain target. Within 5 years, we need to be profitable, and that was our North Star. That's where we all go headed towards.
It's interesting. And do you in the big scheme of things, do you consider yourself wanting to be more of a business leader or more of a technical leader now that you've kind of done both?
Yeah, I've done both, but I didn't really think too much about this, right? I wanted to build more. I'm a creator at heart, so I want to build things that are useful for people. And selling them, I think, is a means to an end to sustain yourself, so that you can continue building things that are useful for people. I never really think myself as purely a business leader. I think myself as a builder, as a creator.
Yeah, makes sense. Congrats on the global top 50 government innovators thing, which Singapore is the only Asian country listed there. What I want to kind of ask you, you've been a long time in Singapore. You've been involved in a lot of government activities. You've worked at Temasek for a little bit. SP, I guess it's quasi-government, private, but it's definitely connected to the citizen ecosystem of Singapore.
Yes.
Now you're in GovTech. You know a lot more than you can probably even share, or people us who are like outsiders to it. But what I want to kind of ask you is, what is unique about Singapore's journey and tech? Both from being startups, something like that, and even just what GovTech does and things like that, because it is unique. And I think sometimes it's hard as an outsider to put a finger on it. But us with experience, I've come from Thailand, and wow, government apps, and and you think of like, I've dealt with IRS in America, and you think about the difference of just dealing with IRS site here, which is actually pretty good. So there's just something different about Singapore's journey with tech as a country.
Yeah. So I think there are many aspects that I can talk about, but I can start off first by talking about about Singapore in general, right? In terms of our size, we are a really small country, and that helps a lot. I mean, even in Singapore Power, you notice we don't have really the overhead power cables that goes to homes.
It's all under.
It's all underground.
Yeah. This is amazing. I noticed.
It's not possible in any other big countries. It's just not possible, right? It's an impossibility. And therefore, our reliability is very, very high. And our reliability is so high is because we don't have any, there's not going to be a thunderstorm and a power pole falls down and somebody needs to go and fix it, and then there will be blackouts. That's not going to happen because everything is underground, right? Our blackouts, they're very, very rare. They are so rare that the serious ones, or rather the ones that last half an hour.
Shocking to people.
It's shocking to people. And people call up and...
what year was it?
This is a few years ago when I was in Singapore Power. People were like talking about, my fridge went off because the Singapore Power didn't know how to manage the grid, and my ice cream melted. I want you payback.
Which in any other part of the world, you just know that it's gonna happen. Here, it's like melted. Oh my God, like Armageddon, right? Like
yeah. So I think that.
What was the issue?
Sorry.
What was the issue? Why it happened? Do you remember? Or
there were, I think it was a combination of equipment that was old and just pure bad luck.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just pure bad luck.
Black swan.
Yeah, so some things just screws up sometimes, right? So,
yes.
But it was rarity enough that it sort of became a big issue, and Anyway, in Singapore, it's the size actually matters, and I would say the organization of the government is also important. In many bigger countries, you have multiple levels of government, right? Some has like federal government, then you have state government, then you have like smaller provinces or smaller regions, and you have even down to the municipal level. And those are very difficult to manage because you need to get alignment with all of them. And there are just so many states and so many different kinds or levels of government that is very difficult to align. In Singapore, there's only one, right? Because we are so small, right? And all the other things are kind of like blurred because we are just one level. Secondly, we have a single government for the past 60 years. That helps a lot because there is always consistency. You know what you're going to expect next, right? I'm not associated with any political party or anything, but the realization that year after year things are the same, it actually helps a lot.
Consistency.
The consistency, because you don't really know what is going to happen in some countries, because the election basically selects a different government.
Israel,
and recently Germany, and before that in US, the change in government can be pretty drastic. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is very, very important part of the whole formula. The consistency actually helps us a lot. Having said that, actually the journey for Singapore in terms of technology is not a new one. So it started in the 1980s. I did a little bit of research on this because one of my very first job was literally with a predecessor of GovTech. It was called the National Computer Board.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that you do have history with.
I do have, but I was literally the guy who was crawling up the ceiling, cabling, wiring the cables, the Ethernet cables. I set up the racks. I set up the servers and the routers and so on. So I was literally with National Computer Board for a year plus, and at that point in time, we were doing a large-scale program called the Civil Service Computerization Program. It's like literally that explains the whole thing, right? And NCB was set up to do exactly that, to computerize the civil service. And that journey sort of lasted for like 16, 17 years. Towards the end of towards the end of 1999, there was a change to IDA, the Infocom Development Authority. And one of the reasons why it's changed, besides merging some of the other functions from other agencies, is really a difference in thinking that the government wants to stop doing things that are more technical. So they spun off CSCP, which was the Civil Service Computerization Program, and that became NCS, National Computer Systems, at that point in time, but now it's just NCS. And NCS was bought by Singtel after a while. And it converted into IDA to do promotion of the industry, to do regulation of the industry, and so on. Very, very clearly, it wasn't really focused on technology anymore, but more promotion of technology and trying to drive the use of technology in the industry, right? Less of the government. The government would be outsourcing to vendors and things like that. And that's where there was a dip in technology knowledge and capability within government. And in, I think, 2014, 2015, there was a movement to move back. So it's quite interesting. It's like, I think it was 17 years since the start, or 17, 18 years since the start of NCB to IDA. And then it was exactly like from that time, again, 15, 16 years before that was started. So you can see the time period is quite similar. But now the journey has gone back up to doing a lot more technology, right? And engineering became very key as well. So that is the journey. But to get back to your earlier question about how it differs within certain other countries and Singapore, GovTech is I would say, kind of a unique organization around the world. There are other countries that try to follow, and some do follow our model, but most countries actually do not have a group of engineers, or at least such a large group of engineers that are literally part of GovTech, which are the government, right?
What is the number? Is that something you can share, or it's
no? Because and the number actually fluctuates as well.
Yeah,
but comparatively to other places, it's
comparatively
a much bigger group.
We have much bigger internal group.
Yeah.
Other governments usually just outsource and they will purchase. Even in countries like in China, what they would do is they have a small group internally, which is actually the government agency, and they would direct a state-owned enterprise to run the actual operations and have all the engineers in there. And that happens to many other organizations as well. So I think that's one part of Singapore and GovTech that is rather unique, where our engineers are actually public officers. They are civil servants, right? In other countries, they are not. So I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I think there is this line that's between like you are working for the government or you are the government, right? So I think that.
No, I would think that's almost, I correlate it to startups, right? If you're an employee of the startup is much different than you're a contractor working for the.
Exactly.
There's ownership, there's the feeling of
that's right.
This is you, this is your country.
That's right.
I'm sure it creates a different
and
model, right?
It's exactly, and I think people in GovTech generally have a slightly different psyche. Is the thinking is that I'm doing this for public good. This is for the country. So that sort of like changes the way that you think, that you want to actually do good for public good, right?
For others.
So I personally think of it this way. Now, this is not exactly like something that internally within GovTech we all think the same way. I'm quite sure others think differently from I do, but I feel that that's one big part of why GovTech is successful to a certain degree.
Yeah. So if I'm trying for audiences that do not live in Singapore, just to give a frame of the roles and responsibilities for GovTech.
Sure. So GovTech, technically speaking, is the implementation agency for the Smart Nation initiative that was started. I can't remember exactly when it was, probably like 2014, 2015, where...
I was going to say it's 10 years. I thought I saw a thing. It was the 10-year anniversary of Smart Nation.
That's right. So the Smart Nation initiative is to drive Singapore to be a lot more digital, to use a lot more technology. The agency that's set up to implement this initiative is GovTech. But there is another part of the Singapore government that drives the policies relating to this. It is not GovTech. It actually went through different permutations. Today it's called the Smart Nation Digital Government Group. Right? That's part of the MDDI, the Ministry of Digital Development and Information. So we work very closely. MDDI is actually our parent ministry, and SNDG is now part of MDDI. They used to be a part of a different ministry, but now it is part of MDDI.
So they're setting the policy, you're helping to implement it at a technical level.
Yeah, from a larger perspective, that's how it is. But if you go down a little bit deeper, of course, there are a lot of things that are a little bit nuanced. Because the SNDG is much smaller than GovTech, so a lot of the work, even down to writing the policies, are also with GovTech. So that's technically that's what it is.
So if I'm talking from startup lingo, they're setting the roadmap, and you envision or you do the ideation, and how does it trying to simplify things? Or
I mean, if you look at it from a 10,000 feet kind of level, right? That would somewhat seem like it, but the reality is a lot of the policy people in government, they are not technical people. Right, so they are advised by us, and we would provide input for the policies, see some policies whether it works and doesn't work. So I would say we collaborate on the policies,
like product managers.
Yeah, but they are literally policy officers, right? So they are the guys who would go and engage the other parts of government to get them towards a particular direction.
Yeah, it's a very successful model.
Yeah, I think there is a certain amount of success, but with everything else, there is success, and there are issues with this as well.
Nothing's easy.
It's a good segue. We don't anchor things based on time, but I think AI is going to be here for long. So we can speak on AI today.
Sure.
For a person that write a code and see the evolution of AI, how do you think it's going to look like in the next 5 years, in your perspective, leveraging Copilot, no Copilot? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I think my short answer is I don't know, because things are changing so rapidly, and things are changing in general, right? It's very hard to say what's going to happen. I think the role of a software engineer is going to change quite dramatically from where it is today, because even in the near past, like 2-3 years ago, most of the time when you code, at most you would check Stack Overflow and you do some search, Google search, and you figure out like snippets. But you still need to make
or open up a book.
You open up a book, you copy from some GitHub repo that you manage to find, and if you wanted to take some code from somebody else, right? Or if not, you got to sit down and you could like trash through the code and grind through it. And in a way, it is good because that's how you sort of like learn, and that's how you grow as well as a software engineer. And it's very defined roles that you do as a software engineer, and very defined roles as you do as a product manager, as a designer, and so on and so forth, right? The entire ecosystem is and the development process is kind of fixed. I think that's going to change very dramatically because today when you code, and things are changing on the fly, right? Like I personally use Windsurf, which is AI coding assistant from a company called Codium, and the way it works, it's you type in some problems that you want to solve, and it would generate and create the code for you. You create all the structures for you.
It's sitting in right inside the IDE?
It is the IDE.
It is the IDE, okay.
Yeah. It's actually a modified VS Code.
Got it.
Yeah, a lot of them are like that. I use a lot of VS Code previously.
VS Code's kind of won the...
It has.
The editor.
That's right. Yeah. I think most people use VS Code previously, but now it's sort of like it's because of these AI coding assistants. Some people build into VS Code. Some people basically fork a different version, and then they added the whole thing and made the whole thing the coding assistant in general. But regardless of what it is, it will mostly be able to generate the chunk of it for you and even modify it, right? And you just need to provide intent and it will make the changes. It is by no means perfect. In fact, a lot of it is very buggy. Your intent that you have in your mind is just like how we speak, right? You can think very clearly what you want to do and what you want to say, but the words might not come out necessarily the same way that you're projecting. And so when you try to give instructions to the AI coding assistant, you could try to be very clear, but even the intent might not mirror exactly what you want, right? And definitely has its own biases. But nonetheless, it is quite miraculous. If you use it, most engineers I know are completely bowled over by that. And in good and bad ways. In good ways, it's like, wow, it eases up my the work that I need to do altogether, right? But in bad ways, like, am I still needed after this, right? Because it's all prompting. And so that's why I think software engineering as a profession, I think it's going to change. It'll change drastically. Product management, in a way, also is going to change. Like design is also going to change because I'm talking about interaction designers, right? Not like the
UI.
Yeah, the user researchers and things like that. Because very often you can even like describe how you want to have the user interface to be like, and it can be generated for you completely. Right? You can even like draw it out and then it will generate something for you. And so a lot of these things are literally changing even as we speak here. And I have no idea where this is going to turn out to be at the end of the day. So,
but it's not going away.
It is unlikely going to go away. Yeah. It's unlikely. Yeah.
By the way, from my point of view, as a software engineer, when you say the world is going to be changed, I think the responsibility is going to be enlarged a bit. Because usually what you do, you compile your code, and then you say, okay, I will put it in the pipeline. But then the pipeline becoming much more easier to implement in. And then you have the infrastructure. So you have the DevOps. So you have all these people that are waiting for you. And you as a software engineer, I want to see it, how it's work. And maybe that will be the change.
So you are, again, thinking that it's going to be the pipeline, right? But I'm saying that even the pipeline might change altogether tomorrow. Today, I have like coding assistants, which you generate something, it will show you, and you can say deploy it, and it will deploy.
Where?
wherever you want. Like for example, Vercel, you're familiar with Vercel?
Vercel?
You're
Yeah.
testing your product thing here,
I'm
and
just checking,
you're not liking the answers. Yeah.
Vercel, yeah,
Vercel, like
V0,
you can
yeah,
go from
Vercel, I know
think
Vercel.
cursor to Vercel, like
No, Vercel, yeah, I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Very quick.
so quick, right? And that's now. And right now maybe it doesn't work perfectly,
Right.
but it changes, right? So
So you're hypothesizing it's all going to change so much that even maybe the way we compartmentalize and think about it today is also going to get turned on its head.
I think it's changing.
Yeah.
It's changing. It's harder for human beings to change, but after a while you'll be forced to change, right?
Yeah.
Because do I still need all of these DevOps people, right? There's this DevOps movement that's been around for a number of years. It's sort of like
10 years, around 10 years.
yeah. So it's sort of been
DevOps, be
firmed
ready.
up.
DevOps.
It's sort of been firmed up, but you don't really know, right? What's going to happen next? I think things will change. I just do not know how it would change.
Yeah.
But you're using it already yourself.
I'm really using it.
Yeah. And I
I'm really
doubt,
using it.
it's like if someone told me, can I go back to, even if I'm not coding, like having Chat GPT around for my day-to-day work, no.
This guy
I
say,
can't.
no
It
way.
is-
It
yeah.
was me. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've started playing with, it's not a product endorsement, but I liked it. This Granola AI, which is there's a lot of these meeting summarizer things, but one of the ways I like it just uses your local mic. So any conversation you have, even if it's a WhatsApp call, it'll start, right? And I've been playing with it like 2 or 3 days. I don't think I can stop using it now because literally every conversation, obviously in a work context, I got a nice organized set of notes.
Yeah.
That I'm like, why would I ever type a note again? It's
Yeah.
like makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
The
So
thing
things
is,
are changing.
what's happening with Hebrew? I wanna check it in Hebrew. Do you think it's
You
gonna
try,
work?
call me.
I will
I'll show you how it works.
I will.
Okay, so we're gonna go down this path, and it's even a harder question because you just said, "Hey, I don't know what this will look like in 5 years," but we're admitting it's not going away. You're in school, and you have a son, so you've even probably dealt with this yourself in a real scenario. I have a 17-year-old who's in ITE, and I'm dealing with this. It's very tough as a parent now because I think 4 or 5 years ago, you would say, "Oh, be an engineer, be a CISO, you're gonna have employment," and
Yeah.
it's suddenly already getting harder, right?
Yeah.
What
definitely.
do you tell people, or even not saying they're your son or my son, but as a general case, what do you do now to stay relevant and stay employable, knowing
Yeah.
we as technical people can't even sit here and say it'll look like X in 5 years, where we
Yeah.
used to kind of be able to, I think.
Yeah. I would say yes and no, but it sort of like creeps up with you over time, right? So you do see it coming in the past, but right now I think it moves so quickly. It's hard to see where it's going to lead and end up to be. I say that because I used to my first startup. We had a Solaris machine, the E450. We spent a lot of money to buy that machine.
Pouring out for son. That was our 25th anniversary, I think, today.
Yeah, but they were sustainable. I was able to work on Solaris a bit.
Oh, there's still a lot of
Oh,
sun boxes
yeah.
running. A
They
lot.
still are.
Yeah, when I was in Checkpoint. Yeah.
And it was expensive, and to set up your server room was expensive. So it would cost a lot of money, and to have a startup, to have your own infrastructure, you need to have a lot of capital to start. Now you just spin it up in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
If your startup fails, then so be it. Of course, in the longer run, it's going to be more expensive. But then if you buy that, but if you're a startup, so that has totally changed from the time I started to now. But from the time I started to now, it's like 30 years, right? So you do see it coming out to you. But now it's changing so fast, it's just difficult to see. But I do feel positive about at least technical people, or I tend to think that it's positive because software engineers have to deal with change. It's just like if you're a JavaScript engineer, the number of JavaScript libraries that keep changing.
TypeScript, CoffeeScript. Yeah,
Whichever it is, like keeps changing so often, right? The libraries and the frameworks keep changing. I think if we can't cope with it, then nobody else can. Right? So I think we have the highest chance to be able to cope with change because we deal with change all the time. And if we cannot deal with the change, and we shouldn't really be in the industry. That's a personal opinion. But I feel a lot more for those from the other industries, like say the legal industry, for example. Your legal training has been like that for a long time. It has not changed. Changing a piece of law takes a long time, right? And all your accumulated knowledge, changing all of that takes a very long time. So how are you going to change an industry like that? I think it's tough. I am not a lawyer, but I just can feel for it. The medical industry or the doctors, right? All those things that totally change, could potentially totally change overnight. I think that is disastrous. Software engineers and us in the tech industry, I think we probably have a better time in this. So in the longer run, I'm less worried about that, but I'm more worried about the rest of the world.
Disruption to others because of it. Yeah, fair.
And that is the disruption that will impact everyone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get what you say. Interesting times.
Yeah. We still have like few minutes.
Sure.
Last question about things that actually change our life. I'm less than 2 years over here, and I know you up. Yeah, I'm using it almost every day, and you were part of that. Tell us more about how does it start? How do you think about doing this type of thing? And
sorry, which one is
the
it?
U app?
U app. Yeah, sorry.
The U app was thought of before I joined Temasek. So U was there's a long history in that. I'm probably the least qualified person to talk about it because I went in to help in only one thing, which was to help organize their engineering team, right? Because there were changes in leadership.
And it was a Temasek idea? Or was a startup that Temasek got involved with?
I think the answer to that is it's complicated. So the idea came from some Temasek people, and they wanted to do this loyalty app. But eventually, U is actually a brand that came from Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's complicated.
Because prior to this, it was the old card and the one you get from the community center and
the Passion.
The Passion, because and it was like, but it wasn't digital per se.
Yeah. And it's not related. So Temasek thought of this app and wanted to build this app. Coincidentally, the People's Association wanted to see how they can move on beyond the Passion card. Right, it's a very successful program. They did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the cost and also the effort put into it
to maintain the Passion card,
it's not so trivial.
Yeah.
So you came at a time where they made a proposal to say, hey, can we take on the Passion card? And that's how it combined. It's not exactly like U was not thought of as a replacement for Passion.
Got it.
Yeah, it was the other way around. Yeah,
but it's pretty widely successful, isn't it? Like
U.
Yeah,
I think it was very successful.
Yeah.
And the launch was actually quite amazing.
Yeah, the song's still in my head. I have to admit.
Yeah.
My little kid would sing it all the time. Yeah. Nobody But You is like, I'd be like, oh,
it
no,
was
back.
like, I remembered the time when, they were filming it and everything. That was quite cool. I was part of it for a really short time because I was in Temasek like 8 months.
Yeah.
And I helped a few startups when I was in Temasek, and U was actually just one of them.
Nice.
I went in to help them to review their organization because they had it had a kind of a very messy start to the entire journey, right? So there were a lot of changes in the organization with the people and stuff like that. And I went in to try to help solve some of these problems. And I guess I did solve some of the problems. And I wasn't the only one though. There were like a few others of us who went in together and we helped to solve the problems.
What would be the one, because you've had, how many of your own startups? 2?
My own startup, there was just one.
One, okay.
Yeah.
So you've done one, you've definitely seen a lot in the ecosystem, I would think, in your journey.
I saw a lot.
You saw some via Temasek. What advice, from an engineering perspective, what advice would you give a startup that you just see over and over again would improve how they work? Because you're obviously going in and giving advice.
Yeah, so it really depends on which stage the startup is in, right? The very early stage startup is
I want to
like
say early stage.
Early stage.
super early stage is like don't bother, do whatever it takes to
Don't die.
You know?
I was gonna say early stage is like okay, just don't die.
Yeah, just don't die. Just do whatever it takes. Like just do anything to get to the next stage. And the next stage is a little bit trickier because then you have people, and they all work for you. But generally, by the time you reach there, the person who is leading the engineering team, unless you are quite experienced, and usually many cases they are not, then there is always a gap in capability in managing people. Because the transition from don't die to now you got to manage 100 people and make sure that you motivate them, you make sure that they are performing at peak and so on and so forth, right? And all dealing with all the people problems, that is not a skill set that you will acquire from before. And unless you have already that skill set, it's actually kind of hard to acquire. And then the advice will be quite different because then you will need somebody who have that experience, who is able to organize it in a way that optimizes your organization and move it forward, right? And in fact, interestingly enough, that has been the main role in much of my career post my first startup. Really managing a group of engineers and organizing it in a way that makes sense and that we can progress easier. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of writing a book about that kind of stuff? I know you blog a little bit about it, but
I wanted to at one point in time. In fact, my book proposal was accepted, but I didn't have time to write it, so I turned it down afterwards. You know?
Yeah, because I think like some of the most fun books I've read are like, you know, How to Become a Better Manager, the Julie Zhao book, and you're hitting on something that I think startup or even organization, this ability to like organize product and engineering in a better, successful way. Yeah. It's got to be a very common situation, right?
The problem is very common. The solution is not.
Yeah.
Because solution is always very different from organizations, especially the larger ones. The larger it is, the more complex history it has in the past, right? And that complex history has a bearing to how successful the thing is, what you need to do to make that to be a success. So it's a very complex problem. In fact, this is the biggest thing that I'm doing in GovTech today, because GovTech, like I said, there's a 40-odd year history, right? So managing that and driving it forward is the biggest problem that I'm facing today.
Yeah, you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, and some of my, let's say, journey or things that evolving in my experience, sometimes you say, the culture, the change of the culture will assist me to organize. And then there is how culture lead to impact, or should I lead by values oriented? Because culture can be different. Me and Michael, different culture. You, different culture. And you have a diverse of people when you're talking about 100 plus. But then, do you think it should be lead by value or by culture to be organized better? Maybe there is no answer. I'm just playing with your mind a bit.
So consultants speak again, right? It depends. It depends on the team itself, because sometimes we could come from very different backgrounds, but we have the same culture because we've been through certain things and they are very similar. So we have experience and we have the same kind of thinking. So it might not be as diverse as what you think it is, right? Immediately, Spee and I can connect because like we have kids that are of a certain age, right? We have been in organizations, certain kind of organization. So certain things actually do click. Yeah. And I think it's easier to move from there. There's no clear lead by value or lead by culture. Culture is a very amorphous thing to do in the first place. And the larger the group is, the harder it is to have a single culture. In fact, I think it's almost impossible. There are always some subcultures and subcultures as well.
Yeah.
So it's just not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's more complicated. But no, I think you would have a welcome book on that subject because you have a lot of experience with it.
I will read it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up. So we have a couple questions we always ask people when we wrap up. First one is, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know today?
I think probably it's don't overthink, right? And just go ahead and try and do, and to work on it as things come on. Because actually, unless I really know what's going to happen, it's very hard to understand everything and prepare for everything, right? So what you need to do is prepare what you can the best, and just winging along the way. I think generally that has, on hindsight, when I think back about my own career, my own journey, most of the things that I thought would happen never really happened. What really saved me was that I could think fast on my feet and just move towards or at least try to move towards the general direction that I wanted to go.
And just deal with the change as
and
it
deal
comes.
with the change along the way.
Yeah. Probably the way engineers think sometimes too. Right? So.
It is. You write enough code, you know that somebody's going to change the requirement anyway. So you just deal with it.
That pesky product manager. Yeah, we'll do it.
What do you do for your personal physical and mental regime? What's your regime about that?
Physical, nothing really, because I'm totally not fit person at all, right? Which is really bad. I think I would totally advise against it. You should be a lot more fitter, as in you do need to do a lot more exercises and eat well and everything, and sleep more. I think is what I would advise. But personally, I think I don't do any of these enough myself, so I'm not sure whether I'm the correct person to give this advice. Mental wise, I read and I reflect. I think that's the thing that I do. Yeah, I again.
Is there a process for a reflection?
No particular process. I just, when I read certain things, then when I have some time in the car, on the train, or I'm showering, just like some reflection of things that I've learned. That I think helps me to consolidate my thoughts.
And read physical books or electronic?
I have not touched a physical book for years now.
Just Kindle or something? Or?
I read on my phone, actually, because that's the most convenient thing that I can bring around. Right. So I have iPads, and iPad was a godsend when I first got it. It was like answers, my prayers answered, right? And I still do read on my iPad, but things get heavy because I have a lot of devices in my bag now.
Yeah.
So ended up that the phone. So I try to get the biggest phone possible, then I can read on it.
It's funny how the phone is just still the most useful thing, right? It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
I was listening to a show the other day where the guy was saying, no matter what we say, nothing's really changed, just that this works for like 90% of what you need to do, right? It's crazy how good
it's
it
true.
is.
I mean, that's actually the magic formula. Somehow, that sort of hit that.
Yeah, the size, the availability of it.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. I mean, now that you mention it, I went through a lot of PDAs before as well, right? The personal digital assistants.
Yeah.
I had like the Palm.
I had that HP one, the Windows one that you could clamshell.
I had that one.
Yeah,
too.
it was amazing, that thing.
I had a compact. None of it was the same as the smartphone though. It's
but it all leads up to it though, right?
It led up to it, but the form factor is just different, right? Because I think the PDS could not do communications, and communication is a key part of what we need to do.
They nailed it. You mentioned you read a lot. Any suggestions for stuff you've read lately, or something that still sticks with you? Is just a great book, a great article?
I read a lot. The bad thing about it is very often I forget what I read. Only certain things stick. So The latest one or rather the current one I'm reading, which I'm still halfway through, is Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
Revenge of the is an update to his.
I would say it's a sequel.
Okay,
of the Tipping
got
Point.
it.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting because he talk about tipping point. They talk about the anti-patterns of the tipping point. Like tipping point is supposed to be things that trigger, and it's things that are generally positive, right?
Yeah.
Now he talks about things that are not so positive. So epidemics, for example. Right? Epidemics, not your usual like COVID kind of epidemics, more like suicides. Things like how monoculture actually is dangerous because, certain things, the epidemic that impacts your monoculture can lead to disaster. Right? So it's interesting that you talk about culture, right? So is a organization that's monoculture and everybody thinks the same way, is it the best thing for the organization? So, yeah.
Depends. I'm answering as you. Depends.
It depends. Right?
Yeah, I actually discovered the guy, the show, The Generalist, comes from the book Range, which is a guy talking about general, and it was actually his argument to Malcolm Gladwell, because Malcolm Gladwell is kind of almost the tipping point and all that, talks about 10,000 hours in specialization, and his thing was taking the opposite. And they've had a thing where they got together once and kind of argued this out, and then later the Revenge of the Tipping Point comes out where he addresses some of these changes in the way he thinks, right? Yeah. Which is pretty amazing. Yeah. Very cool. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
We enjoyed the conversation.